Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tara's Voice, Interesting People, Irrelevant Conversations. I am excited to spend time with my very good friend, Marsha Lynn Hudson today. Again, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about or what questions she's going to get on our irrelevant wheel, but let me introduce you to her super quick. Marsha helps coaches, speakers, and female entrepreneurs turn their ideas into income, monetize their message, and build a brand online without the overwhelm. She's also developed the Hudson Framework, where she trains and teaches educators and teachers how to transform the learning experience. So you're in for a fun time. We always have great conversations. We actually met. It was initially through Clubhouse, right? Initially through Clubhouse. It's been a couple of years now. She is such an inspirational woman to me. She is a strong woman of God. And let me tell you, once you get in her corner, and she is somebody that believes in you, she will track you down and make sure that you continue to pursue your goals. And I think we all need those people in our lives, like those hype women who will not let us forget, our goals. And so I always appreciate that so much about you. All right, let's see what comes up on our wheel. I'm going to go ahead and share our screen. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see that. We'll pick up our wheel of irrelevant questions. Okay, are you ready? Marsha, we're going to go ahead and hide that. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's spin our wheel. Now, some of these have been sent in by other people or not, so we'll see which comes up. If you could, okay, so Susie, Susie Castellano Hansley submitted this. If you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
That is a great question because I say it all of the time. I tell my husband and friends, I think I was supposed to be born a bird.
A bird?
And I'm gonna tell you why. It's something that question came up. I say it all of the time because when you think about birds, they get to fly around, they get to be in nature, they get to be outside, they get to just be out in nature, and they just get to be free, and they get to go and come. And I know that there are other animals that get to do that too, but for some reason I thought I'm supposed to be a bird because I really love nature. I'm like, if I can be outside all day and night, I would be outside. I do, and if I could go from one place to the next place fast, because everybody says you're too fast, you're going everywhere too fast. Birds get to go fast, and so the biggest thing is that I just love being in nature. I went walking this morning. I love being outside. I love moving fast. I love going here, and I just love being free. And I think that birds get to do that. And I was like, I think I was supposed to be a bird. I love being outside. It could be hot and I'm outside. It could be cold. I want to sit outside. When I'm planning and working on my stuff in my business, I'm sitting outside with a coffee. So I think it's a bird.
Okay, so this is embarrassing, and I will admit this publicly. So, there are things that I'm going to preface. I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent person. Like I graduated college, top of my class, education, all that kind of stuff, right? But sometimes there's just things that you realize you're really dumb. And I kid you not, this was literally within the last month. We were somewhere, I don't know if we were kayaking or what we were doing, and I saw this bird fly. And the song, I don't know the lyrics. It's Free as a Bird, the saying, like free as a bird.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
I turned around and I looked at Jack and I went, "Oh, is that what they mean when they talk about free as a bird? Because a bird can just fly wherever it wants?" And he looked at me like, are you for real right now? And it was like this light bulb moment. Oh, that's what that phrase free as a bird means. The bird is free. It can fly. I mean, he was like, you cannot be that dumb. But I guess I just never in my head had made that connection
Sometimes it
between
just
the
takes a while, right, to get that
free
light
as a
bulb
bird.
moment.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's actually a really great phrase. Free as a bird.
Now, I don't really, and then I thought, really? Because, they can fly high, but I like the freedom part. I want to live my life free. I want to be stress
Mm.
free. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to be stressed out. At this point, I just want to have a stress free as much as possible. life to freedom. I don't want to be bogged down. I don't want to have to do these things. But then on the other hand, when I say I want to be a bird, I am definitely afraid of heights, right? So
Oh,
I don't want to fly high, but I just want to be free. I want to be out. I want to be free. But yeah, I'm not too keen on heights. But I just like Jack was saying, I just see birds as free. And I just want
interesting.
that kind of life. I don't want to be bogged down. I don't want to have to do so much. I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to wake up and I got 15 things. I just don't want to be that. I want my life to be free.
So I think so many people feel that way, but don't feel like they have the options to create that. So I am curious for our listeners. I'd love to have in the comments to kind of see if you were an animal, which animal would you be and why? So I'll be really curious to see what people think or why they think that. I always joke that my daughter, if she has a spirit animal, it's a sloth. I actually call her, I'm like, Emily Sloth. I'm a very fast person. Marsha, you and I are kind of the same speed, which is why we get along well. My daughter moves at sloth speed, even when she is trying to go fast. It is the most anxiety. It gives me anxiety because I'm like, why can't she move faster? And she says to me, she's like, Mom, this is just as fast as I can move. Like, this is the speed I go through life. And so we joke, we're like, you're a sloth. Um, and that's just her speed. That's just how she was born. I have no idea genetically how we are connected. Um, but with the bird and the freedom, I think particularly when you get to a certain level in life, right? You're like, I'm just tired of like bullshit. I'm tired
Right,
of negativity.
right,
I'm tired of feeling like I need to please everybody else.
right.
And I talk to him because I coach women for a good part of my job, and one of the things we'll have people do is a timesheet. So not a calendar, a timesheet where you're actually really putting every hour of the week and blocking it out and saying, where's my time? Because so often I hear people say, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to pursue my dreams. I don't like, I know you help women who maybe want to start a business or leave their full-time job. And you and I have talked about this, right? People saying, I don't have time. I don't have time. So one of the exercises we do is block out on a timesheet, where is your time going? And I've never really worked for an extended period of time in corporate America. I've always been an entrepreneur. It floors me the amount of time that people spend building somebody else's company. Like, absolutely insane. I just actually over the weekend, I was coaching a girl and she gets to work at 8 o'clock and she doesn't get home many nights until about 7:30 at night.
Wow,
And I'm thinking, your entire life is
right,
basically dedicated to building somebody else's business, somebody
right.
else's dreams. But then what happens, right, is then we don't have any time left over to build our own, right? Because we're just so tired,
Right. I
right?
mean, it's true too, because I think when you were saying you get to a point where you're tired of trying to please everybody. Oh my God, that used to be me, and it was so exhausting. And you're tired of the bullshit. You're tired of all that. I think it hits for me. It hit at 50. I'm like, I'm done. I don't care.
Uh,
This is what. But maybe it hits at a different time for other people. But I know what you're saying because I work with entrepreneurs. And me, I started my business on the side forever. I started in the 12th grade. I've always been an entrepreneur. I was like, and I'm a writing person. And I was like, I'm going to start a tutoring service. And I was in the 12th grade. And I remember charging, but you know me, I don't charge, I remember charging $5. And I would charge people $5 to help them with their writing and stuff like that. So I've
Wait, and
always
you were
been
you
that.
were in 12th grade? You were
I
a
was in
senior?
12th
I
grade.
love
I was like,
this,
I'm
right?
gonna have my own tutoring service, and it just went on from that. It never stopped, right? And I did. I would tutor students in writing and stuff because that's my thing. But for me, I think like you, even though working at the college, my whole career has been at the college. We would get off of like one. I might go teach a class. I'd probably be done one or two. So I never really had to do the whole 9 to 5 all day or whatever my whole career. However, I meet women but I have always had a side business. And when I had to grade papers at night, I had to teach class, I had to grade papers at night. But I hit it on the weekends, at night, and all of that to build my business. But I have women who they're going to work like at 11 and 12 during the day, getting home at 8 at night. You're right. So that's all day. They're building a business for somebody else. And they're like, Marsha, I want to start a business. One day I want to leave, or I want to save money for this. Or I said, well, You're going to have to figure out when can you devote time to your business. You're tired when you get home. So to me, I'm like, if you go to work at 12, you're going to have to get up a few mornings from 8 to 9 a.m. and work on your business. And Saturday and Sunday, you're going to have to hit it. So
Yeah.
the thing I'm having with these women who want to start a business, and I say it's a good thing because you have money coming in and you don't have to worry about bills. Start your business on the side. However, you like you said, you got the time block. When can I work on my 8 to 9? I got to do emails. I have to do my social media, build my brand. I have to make my lead mags or whatever. I have to build relationship. So if they're gonna work all day, you're right. But I think the reason why we've spent all that time building somebody else's business, I think it's two reasons. It's a safe check coming in every month or every 2 months, and you know it's coming. And secondly, companies have good insurance. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
so it's hard to leave. So the question, Tara, is how do they how do they do that? How do they get out of the place where I'm safe with these checks coming in? Is it in 2 years, 3 years, I want to actually leave here and build my own business? You're the mindset person. How do they do that? You
So
know,
now I'm
how
interviewing
do
you.
they do that? They working all day. They get home. I have a client like that. 5 days a week, she don't get home at 9 at night. She's crazy tired, but she wants to build a digital business.
Well, and I guess I'm from the mindset that not everybody should be an entrepreneur. I
Right,
know this is going to like ruffle some
that is
feathers,
true.
right?
I
Not
agree.
everybody should be an entrepreneur. And I think for a lot of people, personality style, I mean, my daughter and I talk about this. Like, she's like, I would be very happy, working for somebody else.
Mhm.
Because one of the things we're talking about this freedom, right? We all want this freedom, but I think, well, at least I do. I'm like, I want freedom like a lottery winner, right? Like, I can just live on my dividends. Like, why was I not born a trust fund baby, right? And because that's really freedom, right? Because when we talk about having a business for freedom, it's that kind of funny joke that you give up 40 hours to work 90
I
hours
know.
so you can be an entrepreneur. And I said this when the pandemic hit. I was like, well, this is going to be a fascinating social experiment because everybody went home to work remote. And so all these people who had always said, oh, I want to work at home, I want to work at home, I want to be remote.
Right.
And I remember, in my early 20s when I started a business, I had a lot of mentors. I was very fortunate. I found myself in a direct sales company. That was what I fell into, where there were a lot of women who had become millionaires, built successful businesses, and they were willing to share their knowledge, where most people, when they're starting a business, don't have that level of support around them. So I had these, very successful older mentors
Mhm.
who really taught how do you work at home and be able to have some level of harmony between your work and your job where you're not working all the time. How do you turn it off? How do you create an environment where your home isn't your corporate office, right?
Mhm.
And there were skills that I learned. And I thought, as the whole world is burning, watching this shit show, I'm like, all of these people are going to go home. They're not going to have that. Nobody's mentoring them. Nobody's coaching them. Nobody's saying, how do you go from working in your corporate environment to now you're going to working at your dining room table and have any kind of life, right? I mean, that would be basically like taking your bed and sticking it in your office. Right. And so, but everybody was doing it. And
Right.
what we've seen is that a lot of people work more when they work at home, right? They actually produce more, they're working more, and they have a really difficult time turning it off. Right.
Mhm.
And so that's why I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur. I think that there are a lot of people that mentally, emotionally, being an entrepreneur, you have to have a certain risk tolerance. You
Right.
have to have thick skin. If
Right.
you are a safety, we could do a whole episode on your drivers, what drives you in life. I find that fascinating. But if you're a safety and security person,
Right.
that may not be your best
Right.
choice. With that being said, also, I think we've talked a lot about this. It is crazy to me. And if you're listening, I'm curious because maybe it's my algorithm. But for those of you who are on social media, I feel like every time I go on social media, all I see is somebody else saying how they, in the last 6 months have made $6 million
I know.
and
I
from
know.
one Canva, digital product that they made. And if you
I
buy their
know.
course, they're going to teach you how to do that too. And I'm not saying that that's not happening for some people, but I just can't believe that everybody on my Instagram that's happening for. Um, and
Smoke and
so
mirrors. Smoke and
Yeah.
mirrors. Social media is a
And
lot of smoke and mirror.
and I think
But
it's there's the saying when you talk about how does somebody do this? The thought I have is the phrase that I used to say to myself all the time when I was in my early 20s, and I really resent this phrase now. And it was something all my mentors would say to me. Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain.
hmm,
Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain. Are you willing to do a short-term sacrifice for long-term gain? And I'll actually get this is not a, our podcast is supposed to be fun and light. I'll get very emotional about this. I remember in my early 20s working really, really hard to build a business
hmm,
and being very inconvenienced, willing to work late, willing to drive all over to meet clients.
hmm,
And I would always think to myself, I'm willing to make a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. I'm willing for that. And then when I went through my divorce and my daughter had cancer and I watched that entire business crumble
hmm,
and really have to start back over from scratch and being so angry
hmm.
that here I had invested all of those years for the
Right,
long-term gain and never got the long-term gain.
right.
And that was a tough pill to swallow, right? And it took a long time to emotionally and mentally rebound from that. Um and I think a lot of people have that, right? People work for companies. I just talked to somebody, her husband has been in a company for like 25 years, has built it from the ground up and was just laid off.
Right, right.
People get divorced, people have unfortunately deaths. I mean, we go through pretty crazy stuff in
Right.
life.
But we still take something away from it, even though you talk about how with you, and I get it, the short term sacrifice for the long term gain. It may not be for that one thing. Like you were like, I'm really trying to make the sacrifice for that one thing, but then all of those things happen, and that one thing didn't come about. However, all of the other stuff that you were doing, you could take it into what you're doing now, because you learned back then, even though you were doing the sacrifice, you learned how to go and meet clients, you learned how to make a schedule, you learned how to be responsible, you learn, so you're learning those things in the short term. It's like the guy who was laid off, he got a lot of knowledge and he got a lot of information. I'm sure he got paid from that company, but he takes a lot with him for that. So it wasn't that he had all of that and they let him go, because that can happen. You got to think about all of the things. And I told somebody the other day, and I was working with my life group, I say God wastes nothing. And I told them, I say God wastes nothing. And so you think, man, I did all of this and I got divorced, or I did all of this and I got laid off, I did all of this and this, but God wastes nothing. But look at all of the stuff you learn. It's like I started as an entrepreneur at 12th grade. I've learned so much that brought me to where I am now, as far as working with clients, inspiring ladies, encouraging people, because I know what can happen with the stuff that you think, oh my God, I did that for nothing. You learn things, you take things with you, you get skilled. Those things can't be taken away from you. So the sacrifice that we make for long term may not be that thing. It could be the next thing or the thing after that. And I thought
Okay.
about that, you see?
So do you guys all see why you need a Marsha Lynn Hudson in your life? And I'm just going to preface this because I'm very big on who do you hang out with and who do you surround yourself with, right? And I feel like I'm somebody who's pretty good at having built this skill to find the gift in everything, right? I mean, hello, a whole book is right about childhood cancer and how can you make that fun, right? So being able to look at
Right.
something and saying, "Where's the gift?" And there are people who are like that in the world, and there are people who aren't. And
Mm-hmm.
Marsha, you're one of those people, and I think this is why I connect so well with you, is that you naturally do that. You know, if somebody's saying to you, "Blah, blah, blah," and I'm whining about this, you're gonna flip it to say, let's find the gift, let's find the good, let's see what can come from this. And guys, we need these people in our lives, particularly as women. Oh my gosh. I mean, the world sometimes feels like a dumpster fire. Your social media feels like a dumpster fire, and so that is a gift. I believe it's a learned skill. I believe anybody can learn it. So I think some
Yeah.
people naturally have it. Anybody can learn it. But who are the people that you're hanging out with? Are they going to let you sit in your pity party?
Right.
Or are they going to say, wait, you know, stop the whining. Let's see what did you get from this? What did you learn from this? And are those the people that you're hanging out with regularly, right? It's kind of like being really cautious of who you share your dreams with,
Right.
you know.
I
So
will be nice and let them. so for a day, but that's it. I let my friends, okay, it's like, I'm gonna give you this one day. Go to get you some ice cream, get you a drink, whatever it is. I'm gonna let you have this one day, but then I'm gonna get you up and we're gonna move forward.
So I'm curious because I heard you say, I turned 50 and I kind of was like, that's it. I'm done with the bullshit. Like, I'm not going to
Uh,
put up with anything anymore. And I wish, don't we all, like, if you're over 35 or you're over 40, I guess 40, for me, it was kind of 40 was like when I let my hair go gray. Right. But if you're over 40, don't you kind of, if you have that attitude of like, I just don't give a shit anymore, don't you kind
no,
of wish you had that when you were 16?
I do. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I got kind of got a little overboard. I was like, I'm done. I don't even have to wear a bra if I don't want to. My friend's like, okay, Marsha, not that far. But I was like, I don't even have to wear a bra. But no, I wish I had gotten it earlier because Tara, it was so exhausting in my 30s and 40s, and I was trying to please everybody, my family, my friends, even my then husband, which didn't work out. I mean, it was so exhausting.
Hmm.
And like you said, mentally exhausting, physically, because you're trying to put, and I'm sure you know this, you just can't please everybody. And some people you can't please them ever. You just can't. And so when I got a certain age, it's like I said too. I took that too. I took all of these years of trying to do this, and it didn't serve me well. And something happened. I'm always listening to podcasts or whatever, and I was like, and it just clicked. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I mean, it's too
Well,
exhausting. I'm
that's what
not
I'm
doing this
curious about.
anymore.
What was the shift? Like, what happened that was that turning point for you that allowed you to say, I'm done. I'm done pleasing everybody. I'm done,
That's a great question, and I'll never forget. And it was years ago. I was teaching at the college, and it was November, and it was a long time ago. And they gave us a bonus, okay. And I just like to give. I like to give. I like to help people. I'm not trying to say, oh, I do this. I'm so rich because I'm not. I'm not like the people who make $100,000 in one day on social media. I get that. I'm not that. But we got a bonus at the college. It was November. We got a Christmas bonus, and it was a really good bonus, right? And so, what we do in my family, we're big get together, play games, and all of that. And for Thanksgiving, I had gone to the function, and I decided to give all of my sisters. We have a lot of. It's five of us. It was so small, Tara. I had decided to give all of my sisters $200. That's just $1,000. It was so small to me, just as a gift, because I got this big bonus, right? And and I gave everybody 200. I had it in a little folder. I was like, yeah, I got something for you. And one of my sisters turned that good deed into something so bad, Tara, and this is true. I left the function crying. I left the function crying, driving in my car. Why do I remember that? It's like crazy years ago. That kind of stuff stays with us. And I remember, the stuff she said. You think you this? You think you that? It was nothing like that. I just
like,
wanted to do
so was it
something
more like
nice.
you think you're too good or you think you're
Yeah,
better than
or
everybody
you
kind of
think,
thing?
yeah, you think you're so good, you making so much money, blah blah blah. I don't know how it was turned to that. I don't. I really don't. But anyway, I left the function crying.
Mm.
And I drove. I remember driving, and I was crying so much I couldn't see, so I pulled over. And then it was then when I decided I'm done. It was then. I'm like, and I tried to analyze it because I'm a literature person all the time. I was like, what did I do wrong? Was that wrong? You see what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
how, how did this whole thing turn around? And so the only thing is that I was trying to do something nice. I was hoping it's like, oh, it's about that was it. And that's when I decided then. And
Wow.
then it just didn't happen like overnight. It started to be a process. I started saying, Marsha, you're gonna need boundaries. And then sometimes I had to literally, I really did this. Sometimes we gotta make hard decisions. I had to separate myself for a year from some people, and they were upset. Why are you not talking? I said, I need to get myself together, and I need to realize what it is for me in this life. I need to get my boundaries together. And it changed. And the thing about it, the people respected it. So after that 1 year, I literally did that. After I didn't take emails from them, I did, and the people respected. And now it's so different because I decided for myself no more. I still like helping people. I still like giving, but I decided for myself when I'm going to say yes, when I'm going to say no. I decided when I'm going to have these boundaries, and I'm not going to carry all of this trying to please everybody. If you like me, that's great. If you don't like me, that's fine. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to be mean to you, but I'm not going to live my life. We're talking about the freedom. I'm not going to live my life trying to make you happy and please you. So
So I'm
that's when
curious,
that happened.
do you still talk to that sister?
Oh yeah, we made back up. She sent me an email. Yeah, we made back up. That's been a long time ago,
Wow.
but I did. It was, and the other sisters were trying to talk to me. Well, that's how she is. I said, blah, blah, blah. Then she sent me an email about she was, apologizing, but it really did something to me. I'm like, how do you take something good? And I'm sure you've been there too. How do you take something that you've done that's good and somebody turns it around and made it like it was bad?
Well, I always go back to, and I don't know your sister's situation, right? But I always go back to that saying that we say to little kids, and I say it to adults: hurt people hurt people. That's it,
That is
you
true.
know? And it's never about us. Whatever happened, we make up the story in our head that it's about us, but it really never is. It's
Yeah.
about somebody else, right? It's about their own issues. And I see this a lot in social media because it's interesting to me. I'll make a comment on something, right? And if it's a positive thing, I get nothing, like no likes, no responses back, nothing. But boy, you make a comment on something that's either controversial or slightly negative, you're going to go viral, right? Like people love that. And I had two recent ones that happened to me. There was uh, it was a video about people who had gone to a convention. It was for people who were very overweight, and they were celebrating being in a space where they were not being fat shamed. And there was a lot of controversy about this, about how we're celebrating obesity and this is a health issue and people shouldn't be celebrated about this. But they were so mean, nasty, bullying type of comments. And so I made a comment, I think it says a lot that no, we shouldn't be celebrating health issues, right? Like at some point we can't say that, this is beautiful when you have health issues, right? There's something there. At the same point, the nastiness on social media, the name calling, the putting people down because of how they look. Like we want to teach our children to be good people, and you have adults being little cyber bullies, right? And do you know that somebody who clearly never saw my picture, never saw me, never went to my thing, made a comment back like, well, I guess you need to sign up for the next fat convention yourself,
Oh
or
my
something to
goodness.
that respect, right?
Oh
And
my
I thought to
goodness.
myself, well, this is so interesting, right? First of all, you assume that because I'm willing to stand up and defend other people who are being bullied, that I also must be that, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, well, buddy, first of all, I don't have a way. I'm very, but I will also say I feel very privileged, and I acknowledge that I got good genetics. I've never really had to work to stay thin. And basically, my comment was, I know people who have, like, they are trying to lose weight. Like, weight is a struggle for people, and there's so many things in there that are not just food related. There's emotional, there's trauma, there's how you were raised. Like, I remember I volunteered for a group for we were working with a food bank, and they were going into impoverished communities teaching people how to use their food stamps at farmers markets, because so many of these people didn't even know how to cook with fresh fruits and vegetables because growing up their families couldn't afford that, right? So there's just so much judgment that we have on people about why they are the way they are, and I'm thinking, cast your stone first type thing, right? But I
Right.
just thought it was so interesting. And then and he just kept going at me, right?
Oh my
About how, like,
goodness.
whatever. And
Oh
all I
my
thought to
goodness.
myself was, you must have been a kid. Because he basically said sometimes shaming people is really good. It will motivate them to change. Sometimes we need to shame people to get them to change. And I have no idea if this is true or not, but the thought I had in my head is, somebody shamed you at one point in your life that maybe spawned you to make a change. but there's a lot of pain surrounding that.
Right.
And because of that, that's why you had to lash out at me. Right. And I just had 2 days ago, I had somebody else, I made a comment about something. I don't know. It was about a religion in China that I didn't know anything about. And somebody on Twitter saw it. And my TEDx photo was there. And they write back, boy, they let anybody do a TEDx
Oh my
these
goodness.
days.
Oh my God, you're having a time on social media. I do try to tell my clients, try to be positive, and the things that you're feeling that you think may be negative,
Oh,
tell somebody that at home. Don't put it on social
well,
media.
but I'm thinking to myself, buddy, you have
They
nothing
are
better to
really
do than
getting up.
to
That's
come and
why
find
people are
my
scared.
page.
That's why people are
Yeah.
scared to post on
Like,
social media or do a video. It's like, what are people gonna say? And
yeah.
I get it. People can be mean like that, but you're right. Hurt people do hurt people. And then sometimes we just have to look at you're right. We just have to decide, and I think you said it earlier, who we're gonna let in our space.
Yeah. Well, and also
Who
who
we're
we
gonna
choose to respond to. So I
and
have
who
these
did he
2
choose to respond?
dudes.
Yeah, like it was this guy on Fiverr.
I have
He's
these
like,
2 dudes
I know
commenting.
this guy on Fiverr. I want something done. He gave me this really crazy price. I was like, it's just it. And I said to myself, Marsha, just don't respond.
Yeah, don't respond.
Okay, just because we're going back and forth. Well, how much you want? Just don't respond. And you're right. You got to choose who you respond to. You got to choose who you let in your circle. You also have to choose who you let in internally because we start saying
Yeah.
those things in our head. We start having those negative conversations. But that's what
I
I
think
like
also
about
you
the
have to
bird.
laugh. Like this is my thing is that I think a good way of coping through life is to laugh at stuff. Like when
Yeah,
I have these 2 dudes on Twitter and they're now under my comments being like, "Yeah, they let anybody do a TED." Well, it wasn't really a TED, it was a TEDx. Yeah, she's such a loser, blah blah blah. And I could have responded, but I didn't. I just let it I
right,
was like, "I'm not even gonna bother responding," because here's the
right,
thing, what am I gonna give my energy and attention to? Do I
right.
really care who 2 fools who I've never met, have anything to say? And I started laughing about it. And I looked at them, I'm like, they each have like 100 followers. They don't have like what do I care? This is funny to me. And that's where I think it benefits us to take a laughing approach. I
Right.
can either sit there and be like, oh my gosh, my feelings are so hurt because these 2 dudes think that I'm not good enough to have a TEDx. Or I could laugh and be like, these people who've never heard my TEDx, never met me, but have a really strong opinion. Like, that's kind of funny, right? Even the guy who commented that, like, "Oh, I guess you're gonna sign up for the next fat convention." It's
Oh
kind of
my goodness.
funny to me that somebody needed to do that. And then some other guy is commenting, right? And he's like, "Nobody cares about what you think, lady." And I was like, "Well, that's very fascinating because if nobody cares, why are you commenting on my post?" And so he kept going, and I just kept responding, you're still responding though. Like you're saying nobody cares, but you've responded now 3 times. And the more this is going on, the more I'm sitting here laughing. I'm like, this is funny. And I think when we can take a standpoint to go, this is people are crazy, people are hurt, people are
Yeah.
funny, people respond funny. It kind of diffuses our anger. It diffuses our need to defend ourselves. It diffuses our need to be like, how dare you? I'm like, all right. Like it's Keanu Reeves has a great. Have you seen this? I love this. First of all, I just love him. And
I like
he
it.
said something reminds me of what you're saying about you hit 50. He said, I'm at an age where if you say 1 + 1 is 5, you go for it. I'm not going to argue with you. Yep,
I
it's
know.
5. I'll
I
just agree
know.
with you. And I'm like, that's brilliant, right?
I,
Like, okay.
I know that's right. I tell myself I have this phrase because we are human and things get to us. People say stuff. I have this phrase that's really helped me when that kind of stuff happens. I'm like, Marsha, just let it fall to the ground. And I
Mm.
just let stuff fall instead of letting it fall inside of me. Why is this person saying this or this? Marsha, just let it fall to the ground.
Ooh,
And it
I like that.
really helps me. I'm like, just let it fall to the ground. And I just let it fall to the ground and I move on. Now, sometimes I lose the battle, but that has worked so well for me. Just let it fall to the ground. And what I'm telling myself is, like you say, people have things going on. A lot of times it's not about us because I taught with students, and a lot of times what those students did wasn't about me. But when I just say just let it fall to the ground, it helps me so much to just move forward. I might say, let me head to Starbucks. That's one of my favorite things. I didn't tell you, but you remember I was in coffee jail. You told me when I was on Clubhouse. I was like, yeah, the doctor said I have to have decaf. Well, anyway, I've done so well, Tara, and I've done so well that the doctor said, she goes, I'm gonna let you have one caffeine, one coffee with caffeine today. I was like, oh my God, Rich. She goes, yeah, I'm gonna let you. So I'm like, let it fall to the ground. Let's go to Starbucks and get coffee with caffeine.
Oh my
she
gosh,
goes,
that's
she
a
goes,
good visual, actually. I had a really good visual when you said this of somebody kinda trying to dump some crap on you or their negativity or whatever, and that you literally just step aside and it just falls next to you on the
yeah,
ground. It never
just
even
let it
touches
fall.
you. What a
Just let
great
it
video.
fall to the ground. Head
Yeah.
to wherever you want to go and make yourself feel better on the sofa. With just let it
Wow.
fall to the ground. It helps
And what
because
a good
people can say
story
things.
that you have about your sister because and I just wanna go back to this as we kind of wrap up. That was a really hurtful thing, and you can see even years later, right, that that was
Right.
really painful, and
Mhm.
yet imagine if that had not happened, if you would have spent the next 10 years still being that people pleaser. If you would have like, where what would be different in your life now? What would be different in your career now? How would you be different had you not gone through that painful experience that became a turning point into you becoming a the better version of yourself, right? And a good reminder how and even for me, I've been in a very painful season. I know we've talked quite a bit about that. Um, that sometimes pain
Mhm.
is is kind of the idea of like a diamond, right? Like it has to go through a lot of fire. The coal has to go through
Right.
a lot of fire, a lot of pain to become a diamond. And when we think of painful things in our past, if you hadn't gone through that,
Mhm.
I mean, just imagine how exhausted you would be now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think it hurts us whether you have a business or you're going to, to a company in your career. Because we even though you're working for someone else, you're still around other people. I think it hurts us as far as being successful. Because
Mm,
and I think about it, my pastor says sometimes your pain is the catalyst to your purpose. And so this pain that happened could be the catalyst of your purpose. And I work with a lot of women. I do have men too. I love my men. But I work with a lot of women, and I just really believe that our purpose is not to be stifled. It's not to be living in pain. It's not to be
mhm.
bombarded. It's not to be overwhelmed all the time. And we have seasons, I know, but it's not to be stressful. It's forever. But the pain, I think the pain helped me with the purpose as far as where I am now. We wouldn't
Yeah.
be as successful as we are. We would, because you can't run your business or be in your career and you're worrying about, well, did I do this? Or let me help this person, let me do this, and let me make sure this person's happy, and let me call this person. Are you okay? You can't do the things that you need that align with your life and your goals to create a life and a business you want when you're doing all of that. So that pain to me, not sometimes we think about it, it's bad at the time. It was good, it's okay.
Okay, so you were
So
saying your pain
yeah,
becomes
I think that
purpose.
our pain, and we think at the time is bad, right? But our pain helps us to is the catalyst, I think, that's going to help us to our purpose. Because
Mm,
when I stopped all of that, it really helped me in my life and my business, personal, professional, everything. It helped me get boundaries. It helped me stop, being bogged down by what people think and say. That's a big deal. Crying at night, it was just too much. And so it helps you if your purpose is to do whatever it is you want to do, which is what I want to do right now. It's really helped. It's helped me with my clients. It's helped me with my life. It's helped me with my business. It's helped me with everything because I don't and it takes a lot of time trying to please other people. It helps me to have time to do the things I want to do. So we think about the pain, and it's like you said earlier, God wastes nothing. I said that when you were saying I did this for the long term. It's when I was going through a divorce. It was very painful, but I learned so much from that pain
mm,
about myself and loving myself and being myself. I learned so much from that pain that where I was able to become the person I really want to be better for this next person, whatever. So that's how I look at if that hadn't happened. But I do think if that hadn't happened, because it's a purpose for us and we have a destiny if we move forward, something else would have happened to get me to that because
mm.
it's a purpose and a destiny. It's a plan for us. I totally believe that if we go after it and we work, we We have a plan for it. It's a purpose and a destiny. So I think something else would have happened, but it happened at that time. I think things happen at the time they're supposed to happen. And if we learn from it, we're gonna get over the hump. And now it's like, okay, now it's this year. I'm gonna do better. Like 2023, 2024, 2022. Lots of things happen. But now we should be ready for 2025 because we
Mhm.
learned so much from the, okay, I did this wrong. I didn't do this right. I could have been better at this. I could have been better at the finance. I didn't do this with a client. I don't want to take this kind of client. I don't want to do this anymore. We learn so much. And so the pain propels us to our purpose.
So I'm curious if anybody is listening, and you can certainly drop this in the notes. Is there a time in your life or in your season that you can look back and go, yeah, this painful season actually was really a catapult for me into a better place? Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's inspiring to hear from other people, because when you're in that pain, you can feel like, oh no, there's nothing good that's going to come from this. And to hear from other people who say, I was in that place, it did feel like nothing good was going to come from it. But now I can look and say, yeah, that was really pivotal for me. So, Marsha, I know you work with, I know you have a gift for our listeners, and I know you work with women and entrepreneurs. And one thing you're really brilliant with is helping people kind of take their expertise and turn that into a profit, turn that into something that they can monetize. So, can you tell us a little bit about the gift that you have for your listeners? And guys, this will all be in the show notes and below the video and everything.
Yes, I love that. I totally believe that we can do it whatever it is we want to do if we have a plan. So one of the gifts that I have, and of course you can get it at my website, marshalynhudson.com, and I have some freebies and some lead magnets there. But I just created a sales blueprint, and it's a free blueprint and a toolkit. And it has a lot in it, and I tell people just take the stuff that works for you, but that's a free sales blueprint and toolkit because what I've been doing is I tell people create products that match the solutions to what your clients match the problems that your clients are having. So I've created a few products to match the problems that my clients are having. So the sales blueprint and toolkit is there at marshallynnhudson.com, and it pretty much has the steps for the funnel. And I did a YouTube video on the funnel just yesterday, and I'm going to send it to my editor. But the funnel is what helps us get the people. You were talking about social media. Social media is not the bottom of the funnel. You don't really get clients or make money per se. I know from social media you can. Social media drives people to your community, which is your email. So you want to drive people off of social media. They're not in your funnel when they're just scrolling. They're not in your funnel. They're just scrolling and liking. They get in your funnel once they take action. And that's when they download something like the blueprint or the toolkit or whatever. And so now you're starting to take people down the funnel to become a possible client. So in that sales blueprint, I realized that people were having so many problems with a funnel and not getting people to the end. And so that's when I created that because it's a funnel to get, and you know that, Tara, because you've been in business a long time. It's a funnel to get people to make a sale with you eventually. So that's one of my free gifts. And I also, because I do work with coaches and speakers, because people are like, how did you get to where you are now? I started from ground zero with no clients and nobody, and now I am speaking. But I have another one that I created, how to grow your business in 6 steps as a coach and a speaker. So you can definitely go there and get those.
And I know a great place to connect with you where you're really, really rocking is on LinkedIn. So if you guys are on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend that you go follow Marsha. I know you put a lot of good resources, tips on there, tools on there. And you're right. There's this idea that we want to have all these followers and vanity metrics on social media. And I've heard a lot of top people say, though you're so dependent on somebody else's platform. And this idea that email marketing is dead is not true, because your email list is what you own,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
I think we all saw this in, for those of you who are on Clubhouse, I went from uh, having 16,000, 17,000 people, connected to me with Clubhouse in my vanity metrics. And then overnight, when they shifted that to like houses, it dropped to 1,000. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden that metric was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could get booted from a platform, you could get, an account hacked, an account shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people talk about that. What is it? Shadow band. I don't know how much is
Right,
true in
right.
that, but stuff like that. You don't know who's actually seeing you. So this is great if you have a business or you want a business. And I would say this too, if you have a dream to have a business or you have an expertise and you haven't quite figured out how can you monetize that
Mhm,
expertise, or how do I take this, basic idea and actually turn it into a business?
mhm,
Marsha is the person that you would want to connect with. You are amazing at branding. You are great at helping people brand their business, but you're also really great at how do you take that idea and turn it into a stream of income? And that's where a lot of people get stuck. Or they think, could I take this idea? Could this expertise that I have actually become a stream of income? And you're great at showing people, I know you call it the path to profits,
mhm.
this path of here's where you're starting and here's how you're going to make profit from it. So
Right.
if that is something that you are needing or interested in, go get connected to her, check her out, grab some of her freebies. These are really great because you get an idea of somebody's style and how they work, and then see if that feels like a really good fit. So I appreciate you being here. I know you have another meeting that you have to hop onto, but I love talking to you. I think your heart is so genuine, and this is one thing. And I'm very, particular of who I want to be talking to on the podcast and who I want to share with my circle of influence, because it's not just, to me, it's not just what somebody does, but it's
Right.
who they are in the process of what they do. It's what do they bring to the table with their heart, their integrity,
Right.
um, and their transparency. And that's truly who you are. You have you genuinely want your clients to succeed. And I see that so much. And I know I see the other side of when, they're not doing what they're supposed to be
I
doing, and
know.
the pain that you have
I
on that,
know. And I have to call you
right?
like, Kara,
Because you
what's
want
going
so
on?
but it's because your heart is so big that you
Yeah.
want so much for people. And so, for those of you listening, thank you guys for being here. If you love today's episode, I really hope that you will subscribe. We'll have another interesting person on and another irrelevant, but maybe relevant conversation. And if you didn't love today's episode, no worries. No need to leave a review. We're just hanging out here.
I'm sure they were able to walk away with something they can relate to, right? With
Yeah,
a
we hope
lot of
that.
the things we talk. Hopefully they walked away with something they can relate to. But you're gonna have to do what you get a lot of us on, Tara, where it's more than just one. And we just really have a conversation, bring our
Yeah,
coffee.
where that
We
would
can have
go.
caffeine now, bring our coffee and have a big conversation.
I'm
Thank you
drinking my
so
iced
much.
coffee while we're
Thank
talking.
you so much
But
for
thank you
having me.
for being here. And guys, we'll see you next time on Have Another Interesting Person. And why are we doing this? All because life is really worth laughing at. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.